All right, we're live, right?
Awesome. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
We're on lockdown for how long, guys?
Forever.
Forever. But we've been talking to shops all over the US, and they're definitely starting to pick up in areas where they're loosening up the restrictions. So that's been like really encouraging. Like they're getting busier. Just want to say, hey, everybody, it's Kim from Printavo. We are very excited that you're joining us for this webinar today. I'm also with Laura. Laura joins us from customer care, and Jess, who handles implementation and training. So recently, we're part of the customer success team, and recently at Printavo, we've rolled out all these account check-ins for all of our subscribers. This has been done in an effort to make sure that each and every one of you are able to use the basic features of Printavo to its fullest. One of the major things that we've noticed during our account check-ins is that not many subscribers are using the automations, which are a key feature that Printavo has. And it's there to help make managing your shop simpler and more efficient. So there are a couple of key points that we'll go over during this webinar today that will help you along the way. One of those is setting yourself as a customer so you can run a test through Printavo. Another one is the task, status change notifications, which all feeds into the subject of our webinar today, automations. If we do have enough time, we've come up with a couple other things that we can touch on: statuses that need communication, internal or external, emails with subjects, text, and custom URLs. So I'm going to start off with Jess from Implementation and Training. So what is implementation and training?
So it's a program that we have designed to essentially take everything that you would have to set up in Printavo. We'll do it for you. We meet with you and your team. I get everybody trained, yourself or, the shop owner, get them really trained, get all of the administrators trained. And I meet with everybody individually on the team to get them trained on how to use Printavo as well. So it really takes the guesswork out of setting up your account and making sure that everything is running as smoothly as possible.
Got it. That's awesome. And so there are two options for implementation and training. One is obviously over the phone, like we do our account check-in. And then the other one is like where you go to the shop.
The first is remote, and we meet over a share screen. The first couple of chats, we just chat about the shop, get to know, really get into a deep dive about everything in your shop. We determine what your statuses are going to be, who needs to be communicated with, all of that. I set up your account, and that happens for both remote and on-site. And then after that, all of the training that takes place is either done through a screen share, or I'll come to your shop and just do everything in one day. Obviously right now, because of the travel restrictions, we can't really do any of that right now. So everything is taking place remotely, but as soon as the travel bans are lifted and we're, it's safe to start traveling again, I will be going to different shops too.
I know you're itching to get back out there too.
I love it so much. It was so nice during the winter going, out of snowy Chicago to really sunny places.
So when you are starting fresh with a brand new Printavo subscriber, besides personal info, shop info, and invoice info, what should shops concentrate on setting up? Like, where do you begin with them?
So the first thing that I always set up for people is the focus of Printavo, the backbone of Printavo, and that is going to be your invoice statuses. That's the timeline that every job takes. That is the I think the most important thing in your account. And each status is customizable. So it really depends on what the shop needs to be able to, function. Like Steven with Campus Inc. has 95 different statuses that all do something different. And I've also worked with shops that have 5 statuses. So it really just depends, every shop is unique. So I think that the most important parts of Printavo, in addition to your statuses, are going to be your status change notifications, which is every time you flip a status, there's somebody that gets notified of, that point in the timeline. And then also your automation, which helps to kind of automate that flow. And that's what we're going to cover on this call today. We have what is now called the efficiency trinity. So we have your job statuses that are super, super important to have as the backbone. But then you also have your status change notifications and automations. And all of them work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, or else it's not going to work. It's going to fall apart. And so first thing that I always do when I'm setting up my statuses with folks is, we will go through and create this lucid chart, which is a flow chart that works really, really well. We've seen people use like draw.io, things like that. But this is going to be really, really helpful in determining what your statuses are going to be. It's great to sit down and think, all of the different portions and all of the different parts of your company, from sales to, artwork to embroidery, what happens in each of those and how it flows together, I think is really, really important. This is something that we can send out to you guys just as a template. And, determining which determines an actual point in the timeline and which is going to be a communication. And so you'll see after you get all of this put together, how those two work hand in hand.
Because I think that chart is so important. I feel like you said, setting up your flow and getting those each step in your process written down, I think is, like you said perfectly, the backbone of your Printavo account. And it's what's going to help you.
Yeah. I mean, when I started, I used it just to understand everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great for training purposes too, because, then if somebody new joins your team, you're able to say, hey, this is exactly what happens from start to finish. And, really getting down to like a granular level of, what happens as soon as the customer comes in, what does that funnel look like? From there, how do we get that quote out to the customer? Are we asking for down payments? When do we ask for a down payment? And really determining what that flow is going to be is super, super important, because then that way you can take that and translate that back into your Printavo account. Since we started introducing this and talking about this a little bit more, we've seen so many folks send in their flow charts, and it's been really awesome to see, how things differentiate between companies, but how, a lot of things are similar. And we would love for you guys, send your customer success manager, if you have one of these, send it to them. It really helps us understand what it is that you guys are doing, so then we can help you a little bit better. Yeah. So after you guys put together your flow chart, the second step is going to be taking that to your Printavo account. So what I always do is, if this were a brand new baby account, the first step is going to be going to customize invoice statuses after you get everything else set up here. So if you guys go to my account, you can set all of this up. Just make sure you fill out all of your information, your invoice info, your line items. Those are how it appears on your invoices. And then the next one is going to be to customize your invoice statuses. So we do have some statuses here already set up. And one thing to remember when you're setting up your statuses is keeping in mind that some of those are going to be tied to communications. So you can see here we have quote out for approval. Click on my account in the upper right-hand corner. And then the things that I was just kind of talking about, you're going to set up your personal information, shop info, invoice info. And then this can come at a later date, determining what goes on each of your invoices. But these three up here are going to be really important before you can start doing your invoice statuses. This is our demo account, so we do have all of our statuses set up. But just to add a new status, you scroll down to the bottom, click add a new status, and then type it in. So for instance, we can do like quote out for approval. And one thing to remember is that each status can be tied to a communication. So in determining which statuses are going to be used as an actual status, so it's for more internal use to know exactly where the job is, versus if it's something that's going to the customer or, say internally. So these two, I always start with quote out for approval, email and text. Text is a premium feature. If you want to send things out via email, that's fine as well. And you can either, click on here to figure out which color you'd like, or you can use hex colors if you, have specific codes that you want to use. So we'll just go ahead. We're going to add these statuses here. And one thing to remember is that these checkboxes over on the right-hand side are going to show whether or not it's a quote or an invoice on the order. That's something that I see in a lot of these account reviews that, folks are a little confused about. It's just once the status moves past a certain point, is it going to say that it's a quote or an invoice? And the way that you can see that is we'll click here. So you'll see that says quote. It also says quote, and then right here it says quote as well. But we're going to move this into a status. Actually, this is one somebody's probably working in, so we'll go to another. We're going to move this status from quote into something else. And you'll see that once we move it into, say, pre-production, this disappears. And now it says that it's invoice number rather than quote. So that's just something to remember when you guys are setting those up.
And that's customer facing. So that's what you want I see the issues with that come up is, our clients want to make sure the customer is seeing quote or versus invoice. So just that's something to keep in mind. That's what the customer is going to see if it's a quote versus invoice.
Cool. So once you have those set and once you've decided, what the first steps are going to be in terms of communication, the second thing that I always suggest setting up is going to be your status change notifications. So you're going to go back to my account and we're going to set your status change notifications up. Now, again, these are already set up in our demo Printavo account, but when you're thinking about what's going out to the customer, you can determine the subject line. So before, if you guys haven't checked on your status change notifications in a while, we did just make an update to where you can change the subject line on these communications. They don't always have to say status change to, invoice number, status change to this. You can actually customize how it appears in your customer's email box. Another really helpful thing is going to be entering in your short codes. So I think this is really awesome. You can just say like, hey, customer first name. And if you have your customer's first name listed under the customer list on Printavo, it's going to say, hey, Jessica, or hey, Laura, rather than, just a simple hey. So it looks like you're customizing each email, even though it's automated. Once you have these set up, you can then set up your automations and approvals. One thing to remember when you guys are doing your status change notifications for text messaging is that it is only one way. So I would suggest always setting a, do not reply somewhere in that communication, or it says it down here. So then that way your customers aren't texting back saying like, hey, what's up? And you're not receiving them. Once we have our status change notifications set up, the next step is going to be going to approvals. And the reason for that is once we have our approvals set, then we can determine which approvals we're going to automate based on those statuses. So step one is customizing your invoice statuses, then getting your status change notifications. We're going to take a quick detour to approvals. So we have quote and artwork, which are the ones that we're going to be automating today. And then we are going to head to automation. Now, this can get a little, I don't want to say it's confusing, but if you're not really paying attention, these can get a little messy. So I just really want to cover exactly how these work. So the first thing to remember is that this can be tied to this. So, when you're going to say when quote out for approval, we're going to create a button on that order asking for an approval.
I think this might be a good time to just interject and kind of explain the connection between status change notifications and automations. I see one of the kind of main questions that come up around these is people are expecting that the automations are going to also notify the customer or notify somebody that that change has been made. So how I like to explain it to people is automations are physically do the act. So they're physically applying that approval button. They're physically changing the status. But then you also need to set up a status change notification to let the customer know that that approval button is on there now or the status has been changed. So they kind of work hand in hand. So just the automations, awesome. It's going to physically, do that change, but it's not going to let anybody know that that change has been done. So that's why you got to kind of do them both at the same time.
And that's definitely what we mean by like they all work hand in hand. So just making sure that your communication on the status change notification, I always like to, when I'm setting up accounts, give very clear and explicit instructions on what the customer needs to do to move forward. Oftentimes customers don't like to read don't actually read the email, but it's also still really nice to have that, hey, what you're going to do to approve this quote is click the blue button in the upper left-hand corner. So then that way you can actually trigger the rest of the automations. And I can show you guys what that email said, again, if we need to see it. So the first thing that we're setting up here, we're just going to go ahead and remove these. The first thing that we're doing here is we're going to say, when I click this status, we're going to create a button, and then we're going to turn it on. So then if that button is approved, Then we're going to update the status to let us know that it has been approved. And we're going to do the same thing with artwork. So when we click that art out for approval button, we're going to create an artwork approval button for the customer. When the customer clicks that button, then we're going to update the status to something else. So that's how those automations work. Now on the back end, we have our status change notifications. So when quote out for approval is selected, once we select that, it's going to create a button that the customer clicks, and it's also going to send this email saying, hey, check out this quote. Once that's been clicked, then it's going to update into quote approved. So you can have that tie another communication to somebody in your shop saying, hey, this has been approved, please assign the artwork. Or hey, this has been approved, time to order goods. So the next thing that I want to show you guys really quickly that we've been noticing on a lot of these account reviews, those of you that have premium accounts, you can customize your URL branding. I'm seeing so many shops that don't have that set up, where it'll say like your shop name here in all of these different letters. If you go to my account and then just scroll down to your shop information, you can update that really quickly. So it makes a really clean looking link for your customers to use.
Yes.
So just really quickly, but the next thing that I want to do is I want to show you guys how to test your automations and invoice statuses as soon as you get this set up. So one thing that we see a lot of people doing is they'll go into their account, get all of it set up, and then automatically start sending it to their customers. I think this is kind of I don't want to say risky by any means, but it's a lot easier if you just went in and set up yourself as a customer. So then that way you can test everything that you just created. I'm going to create a customer for myself, and we're going to do a really quick quote just to see how this works with the back and forth.
I noticed anybody who I've talked to recently, especially in account check-ins that have done this, they just really get it a lot faster because they're able to see the emails from the customer side too.
Yeah, and then you can also, test, what happens if my customer emails back? Where does that go? Who sees that? And then it's not an actual live order. It's not a live customer. You guys are actually testing this super quickly, going through the back and forth, seeing if it's exactly how you want it to appear, and then you can move forward and sending it out to your customers. One of the things that we just set up is the quote out for approval. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. Two things are supposed to happen here. One, we were supposed to have a button for quote approval. And then the second thing was also that email. So just to test that out, we sent quote out for approval, click on messages, and now we can see that that email was sent. So the second way you can tell if your automation is working, which I will have to stop sharing this screen, so give me just a second. So this is going to be your public invoice view, and the way that you guys can see this is just by going to your order, clicking more actions, and then public invoice view. So now we can see that we have our button here, so it worked. I'm gonna go ahead and approve it. And the next automation you guys can set up is for a down payment request. Times are tough right now. We definitely suggest taking 100% down before you guys actually move forward with an order, just because, having to chase people down for them to pay their bill, it's not really the right time for that. So that's something that you can automate, and it makes it a lot easier. So then it really frees up the time of, those folks that are usually, doing billing. They don't have to worry about it. You guys saw I approved the quote, so I'm going to refresh this screen, and it worked. So the quote's been approved. And now because we have that status change notification as well, it's going to email your artist saying that it's been approved. Please start doing the artwork. So I think that's, a super, super helpful way to do it. Now, those of you folks that are on standard, if you are not able to automate that process, it's still really easy to get approvals from your customers. All you're going to do is go into the job. You go to messages. We're going to select a template. So make sure you have all of your messaging templates. If you guys, that's for all of you across the board. If you guys are sending out emails consistently, make sure you're saving templates just to save you guys time.
So much time. Such a good time.
You've got QR codes in there too. So
yep. So same way, just like you would on the status change notifications, you can enter in your short codes. So what we're going to do now is, let's say we wanted to do an artwork approval. And this is how you guys might do, even if it's not an automated approval, you can always go to messages and then go here, add your approval. So we're gonna just send this out to our customer, and you can see here, take a look at the artwork, check the big blue button. So it gives them instructions, hit send. And now the customer's received a button along with a notification. So there are 2 ways to get notified from you guys if it's not going to be automated.
Hey, Jess, can I bring up something real quick?
Sure.
One of the newest things in Printavo is under messages, when you scroll all the way down, updating the email address that the messages are coming from.
Yeah, this is a brand new thing. Those of you that are on premium can update your custom domain. So instead of coming from Printavo, it looks like it's coming from your email address. There's a little bit of work in here, but
yeah, all the instructions are right in that My Account messages page. Like I think you have right there. Yep. And then if you guys have any questions or need help with anything, if you want to start that up, just when you go through that list, it'll take it to support anyway to help you, but just write into support.com and we can help you set that up. It looks a little intimidating, but it's a lot easier than it looks, I promise. But yeah, that's an awesome new feature. I know so many people were just like so ready for. So yeah. We're really excited that that's live. So yeah.
Yeah, it's something people have been asking for some time. So, and then it's also where you guys can update. If you go to My Account and then messaging, where you can add in your message templates. And then also, if you are a premium subscriber, you can also upload your Twilio account so you can start texting people from your statuses.
Steve mentioned that also too over here in the chat too, so you can refer back to that too.
Awesome. So one thing that I also wanted to touch on a little bit that we've noticed that a lot of people aren't using are tasks. So this is something that lives in 3 different places. So over on the left here, we have all of our tasks, and every task in Printavo is going to funnel into this notification bar. So you can see here that we have tasks that are tied to specific jobs. We also have tasks that are assigned to customers, which is really good for your sales funnel. And then lastly, we have tasks that you guys can put on the calendar itself. So just to show you, if you want to add a task to the calendar, let's say we're going to clean press 2 today. We're just going to go to the tasks and then add it directly to the calendar by clicking down here. And you can see that it shows up on your list and you can assign it to somebody. So we're going to make Steve clean the press today. And what's going to happen is back on the calendar, you're going to see that on the 14th, there's going to be a checkbox that'll let you guys know this is something that's just going to need to be done in like a general task.
Mm-hmm. Not assigned to any job or anything like that.
It's not assigned to a specific job. So we have clean press 2. As soon as that's done, you know, Steve will check it off, and then you guys will be able to go back into tasks over here. And it looks like my internet might be a little slow, but you'll be able to go over to tasks, and down here at the bottom, you can see all of the completed tasks. So you guys are able to monitor who did what and when. Now, the second place that tasks live are going to be on your actual jobs. So this is something that you guys can do as a one-off, kind of like a sticky note, like, hey, don't forget to do this, and assign it to somebody. So then that way you guys aren't having to stop what you're doing, walk across the floor and go ask somebody to do it. You can just quickly assign a task like.
Yeah. And the people that when you are assigned a task, you get a notification that a task was assigned. And then you can also set up a setting in your My Account section that will send everyone a daily like task list. So what they need to do that day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you'll also see on the screen they'll get a little notification that they have tasks that need to be done too. So there's a lot of communication around these tasks.
And then you guys can also set up under My Account preset task lists. So if it's stuff that you guys are doing all of the time and you're tired of typing it all out every single day, you can actually set it up to where you can have an entire list come up with things that need to be done for specific tasks. So like, for instance, pre-production. These are things that you guys are doing like printing your film, burning your screens, mixing and prepping your ink. And you can have those consistently assigned to people on every single job. And then again, back on the task list, as soon as everybody logs into their Printavo, they'll check their tasks and they'll be able to see a list of those tasks and which job it's associated with. Now, the last place that tasks live are going to be on the customers page. So let's say you guys ran into one of your customers at the grocery store and they mentioned that, you know, they have a really big event coming up. You can pull up your Printavo account and say, you know, if they need family reunion teas, and we're gonna follow up for that on June 4th. And then you send it to your sales rep. What's that?
That's my birthday.
Happy birthday, okay. Another one too that I've seen a lot of people use is, you know, this is gonna be an event that's happening again next year. So we can say, reorder 3638. And assign it to your sales rep in a year from now. So it's May already. So let's say we need to follow up next May. We're going to add that to the list. So then your sales rep is going to get notified in a year to see if they want to reorder this this job. So just some quick tips there. Is there anything else that you guys, you know, let me just show you. And then you can also click back onto your customers page and it'll take you right back to follow up. So those are helpful tips there.
So Jess, another way that I've been, and I feel bad if you've already said this, is like, I've been directing everybody to, like, you know, make sure they set up their users, assign that they can only see their task and the messages assigned, and then heading down to preset task and actually showing them where to add the task under the My Account tab, so they can like establish their flow. And by the way, like all of you guys who are giving us feedback on the task stuff, we really appreciate it. Keep bringing it up. Keep bringing it on. We want you to keep commenting because, you know, we want to hear it from you guys.
Yeah, and I mean the first automation available, which I mean both standard and premium subscribers can have, is a status automatically applies one of those preset task groups.
Yeah.
So, and I don't see that automation used all that often, and it should, yeah, I mean, it's a great way to just keep everyone on track, make sure everyone knows what they need to do when a job is ready to start, or, yeah, I mean, like, what's the one we have right now in pre-production, the pre-production
mixing, burn screens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is that there is a little garbage can by each one of those. So if it's not working out or you need to rename it, nothing is ever permanent in Printavo. So you can edit it. You can make it work for yourselves because, I mean, each one of your shops are different. So you can definitely personalize this to yourself. Yeah. So, and that's what it looks like on the calendar, which is you don't have to run back and see what's going on. You can just bring up that status and see where everything's at.
Yeah, so you can just walk through. I mean, some of you guys still have our first calendar. So if that's the case, if it doesn't look like this, please email your customer success manager and let us know so we can get you updated. But if you're going through, you know, you have your iPad, you can just click on these to see where each job is. And you can see, oh, we still need to check in all of the shirts. You know, I still need to thank the customer. So you can go in and check those off as they're finished. And then once that's done, then you can flip the status into, you know, ready for production. Let's put it into screen printing. And now that'll fall off of the calendar if you have it filtered off. That's just something that I think is really, really helpful. It's a super powerful way to know exactly where the job is without having to get into the job, check the production notes, you know, and just try to figure everything out. You already have that list checked off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so Mark is asking what we mean by the first calendar. Jess, can you?
Yes. So if you guys still have a calendar that in the upper right-hand corner, it says filter by status, let us know because we have updated the calendar. There is, you know, we put the tasks back into the job. So instead of having tasks on the day itself, it cleans it up a little bit by putting them into a little job card here and getting them off of each day. Additionally, you are also able to go into your calendar and go into your weekly and daily views and schedule based on different hours, whereas before it wasn't able to do that. So as we're doing a lot of these account reviews, you know, a lot of you guys that have been with us for a long time, I'm noticing you still have that older calendar and we'd be happy to get you updated, especially those of you that are premium subscribers, because you also are able to use your tag filter down here. So if you tag certain jobs, you can actually, instead of filtering out those statuses, you can filter them all out based on that hashtag like you would on Twitter or Instagram, and see all of those jobs that are related to that specific hashtag. So,
that's awesome. And hey, Amy wants to see how you can have the job go across 2 days under the weekly view.
sure. So you're going to go into your weekly view or your daily view. These are how you guys reschedule all of your jobs. And when you're ready, you can drag and drop it out based on those different hours. Or, you know, if it's something that's going to take a long time, you can drag and drop it out. That's yelling at me, telling me I can't go past that day. So we just drag and dropped it out. So then it shows that you guys are going to be working on that for multiple days.
Yeah.
This is really great for scheduling things out.
Yeah. You know, or if a job didn't take as long as what you thought it could, you can move another job into another day. Makes it a little bit more flexible, for sure.
Yeah.
But you want to email success@printavo.com and we'll jump on that for you and help you update that calendar, for sure.
So the tasks on the calendar, yep, if you click it, then you'll have it show up on the job card here. And that's how you check it off.
I mean, did we want to go over the other automations available? I know we talked about the preset task group, the approvals, payment requests. I think there's one about if the job is paid in full, you can change the status,
Yes.
which can then trigger a status change notification. So that's good for your billing department. To keep everything up to date, know that you've been paid.
So we do have those automations that Laura Kate was just discussing. So if you have a quote or an invoice that's paid in full with no payment terms, you can update the status to something else. So because the automation that we have set in our account here is, once the quote's approved, it requests a full down payment. As soon as they pay that job, it'll tell you that we need to start ordering goods. We need to start mixing and prepping the inks, doing all of that stuff. So this is a super, super helpful tool as well. This is something we've also seen, people do like 50% down. You can update the status like down payment received. Now we can either request art or order goods depending on what happens from there. So
I have a question, Jess, maybe you can help out with. A lot of people don't request payment until the end. So how would they go about requesting payment right before the product is picked up? Like, do you have any recommendations?
You'll have a status that's like, invoiced. And then you can go into your payment/expenses tab here on your individual job and send a payment request. From here, this is where you can email like billing, and you can CC that person that you were working with, send your payment request. And what's really nice is you have this little feature here to set a reminder so that you guys don't have to follow up for payment. One thing to remember when you are sending a payment request with a reminder is that Printavo will not stop asking for payment until it receives payment. If they gave you cash and you forgot to log it in your Printavo account, they will continue receiving an email or a text reminder from there.
Yeah.
You can also, those of you that are premium subscribers, have the ability to text your customer for payment request, which is really nice because everybody checks their text messages. It's not going to be oh, I forgot, or I didn't get that email. It goes straight to their phone. They'll just pay with their like Stripe account or PayPal account. You'll receive it, and then you have that status that'll automatically update you.
Yeah, that's a major point because one of the things that I think makes Printavo really great is that it's cloud-based for not just the shops, but also for the customer. So if I'm out at the grocery store or I'm sitting in the car waiting to pick up my kids from school, because a lot of shops do work with sports teams and et cetera, they can be anywhere and they can approve their art. They can pay their bill. They can approve a quote. I mean, everything is cloud-based. So, it's very helpful. You just got to make sure you fill out your customer information out all the way.
Yeah, and let me show you guys. I'm going to stop the sharing of this so I can send myself a text message.
Oh, yeah.
But I just want to show you guys how quick this is. So I'm going to send myself a text really quickly and then just share my screen again. Yeah, I just sent that payment request, and in that time, I've already received this text message asking me to make a payment. So, it's that quick. And then you can click on this link, and you guys can see there.
Yeah.
That they're able to pay. So it's a really super simple and quick way to be able to get your payments, your approvals, all of that stuff done.
Yeah. Hey, Jess, one thing that I want to ask you a question about is
Sure.
the public profile link. Can you just kind of go over that real quick, how that can be really beneficial to reduce emails and phone calls?
So as soon as you're entering a new customer, you guys are able to check this box at the bottom. As soon as you check this box, your customer is going to receive an email saying, hey, here's a link to your public profile. And what that is, everybody uses Amazon or Domino's. It's in your package is at, without ever having to call Amazon's customer service, or Domino's will let you know, like, hey, we're making your pizza, it's on the way. So it's going to be the same deal here. Your customer receives that email saying, hey, here's your public profile. This is a link that is custom to them. So you just let them know, hey, bookmark this, save it to your phone. You can also use a short code in your messaging that links them back to this public profile. And it's a really good way for them to see all of their information.
Mm-hmm.
They also can see all of their past invoices or all of their current invoices and what status they're in. If they're not logged into a Printavo account, they're able to actually click on each of those individually, and it'll take them back to their public invoice view, where then they can, pay their past due bills. They can, see what was done, who approved certain things. So it's just a really nice and easy way for your customers to stay updated without having to give anybody a call.
If you feel comfortable with sending that out to them, definitely feel free to do so. But again, if they're kind of a little bit more old school and they want the emails and the phone calls, you guys all know your customers. Feel free to share it or not. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, some customers might really, really appreciate it. We see a lot of contract printers that really heavily use the public profile, because that gives those that they're printing on behalf of the ability to pay attention to exactly where their jobs are. They don't have to pick up the phone and call when their customers call for updates, but then you also have some customers where they'll see that it's in production. And if you're in a smaller town, they might show up like, I saw it was ready. So it really depends. And you guys do have that ability to determine which customers do receive them and which don't. And, again, like I was saying, you can do your status change notifications or your email templates where you can have that public profile URL that will automatically update every single time for each specific customer in those communications. So, if your customer is really forgetful and loses it a lot, you can have it already on each individual communication.
I was saying, I was kind of going through tickets that have come in to support about automation specifically. And I think the one that we get more often than not is, when are we getting more automation? So one thing to note is I want to just let everyone know, like, where it's coming. We're working on it. So we're aware. We're going to add more eventually.
Just so you know, we do have a link. It is printavo.com/ideas. Am I correct, guys?
Yep.
That is just a great place for you guys to put any ideas, any suggestions in there. And then you can actually scroll in there and see what is in process and what is planned. And then you'll get communication from Mike also. What is Mike's official title, guys? He's like a
product manager.
Yeah. So, he's very responsive on there, and we do appreciate all of those suggestions and ideas. I know Bruce looks at it, Mike looks at it, the engineering team, those guys, they look at this stuff. And they do appreciate your suggestions and ideas.
So why does it not show a balance on an invoice when a customer pays over the amount due? So you're not able to pay over the amount due in Printavo. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by that?
I think customizing the automation speaker.
So that is also something, and I'll just quickly show you guys here that I have gotten that question a few times, if there is a credit on somebody's account. So what I would suggest doing is just going into your customer's profile on your page here, and then just writing in the internal notes, really quickly, $45 credit. So then when you're entering in the next order, go to Jingle John here, and go to edit. say it's $300 credit. And then you'll know as soon as you start to open their next quote that you can add that discount onto their next order. Once you've done that, then you can delete that off.
Yeah.
That is very nice.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just refund that amount directly through the payment processor that you're using.
And guys, if you don't want to set this up, please let me know. I would be more than happy to start working with you, working with your team, getting everybody trained to really take that off of your plate, and you can let us do the work for you. So
yeah. And where should they get a hold of you at? success@printavo.com?
Just email us at success@printavo.com. Unless I've already been working with you and you guys have my email, it's jessica@printavo.com. But yeah, we'll be able to, start discussing your training plan.
Laura, do you have any additional comments? Anything else that you want to let everybody know?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I kind of wanted to just add is that if people were kind of hoping to get into more detailed automations and like Zapier and things like that, I mean, this one was more focused on core Printavo, like what you can do in your account right now. We do have some other webinars that we've done with like Stephen Farag and stuff that goes more deep into Zapier and how to do some more, complex automations that, we can also send you if you guys are interested in that. And yeah, we can also help you set up some Zaps if you want to kind of go that route as well. So
yeah, and you and Anthony are like the gurus.
Set up a couple
Everything with that. Yeah. Shout out to both of you guys.
If you think you want to automate it, just go for it and see if it works. It's a little intimidating at first, but as soon as you start doing it, Zapier is really, really fun, and you can start automating a lot of different things that you didn't think that you could before. So just try it out, test it out.
Well, we just want to say, like, from the success team, customer care team, again, I'm Kim. We got Jess and Laura. You guys have probably seen our names, our emails, but now you can finally put a face with the name. We really do thank you guys for joining us today. Feel free to share this with any other shops that you know that use Printavo, or if anybody's interested in Printavo, share it with them. If you have additional questions, email success@printavo.com. If you have any technical issues, email support@printavo.com. I want to give Steve a shout out for helping us out with the questions and comments on the side. He is also a major part of success@printavo.com. Yeah, implementation and training. Jess is extremely helpful and knowledgeable. But other than that, I think that wraps up for basic Printavo.
Thank you so much, you guys. Have a happy Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
All of you down south, enjoy the weather.
Right.